Hi, Steve here, blessedhopeforever.com, December the 15th. Welcome to December 15, day 2 of the final 7-day countdown if you've been following this timeline, and I appreciate all your comments. For 120 years, Noah's message was very broad. Judgment's coming. The timeline was measured in decades. And then in Genesis chapter 7, verses 1 through 4, the world changes abruptly. The ark's finished, the work's done. God speaks to Noah, and he narrows the timeline down to a single week. Genesis 7:4, for yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth. I believe that we may, not are, but may be in the ark. The 120 years, the 77 years, these are periods of general warning, 1897, 2025, 1948 to 2025. The world watched the fig tree grow, and yesterday on December 14, the count shifts. It's no longer about this generation, it's about this week. I want to talk about Noah, since I believe we are in the ark. There is a pattern found in Genesis 7. It describes how God manages the transition from a general warning, which lasts for decades, to a specific countdown, which lasts exactly 1 week. It is the shift from the construction of the ark, to them boarding the ark. In this 7-day timeline, December 14 through the 21st fits it perfectly. There is a profound Jewish tradition, midrash, regarding why God waited exactly 7 days. I find it most interesting that when we look at Methuselah, the meaning of his name is, when he dies, it shall be sent. Methuselah, the oldest man to ever live, died just days before the flood. Scholars believe that the 7-day delay was the Shiva, the 7 days of mourning, for Methuselah. God held back the rain to allow the righteous to mourn the passing of the patriarch. And so I ask you, you who have been following this, you who are awake, you who are now in the ark, do you feel the mourning of Methuselah? Because I do. For decades, the command was, make an ark. Make thee an ark. Build, okay? Build. Well, did you? Did you build? Now the command is come in, enter. And that is a shift from labor to rest. During these final 7 days, Noah wasn't cutting wood or pitching a hole. He was gathering his family, and he was entering a place of safety. The work was finished. And this ends with a critical detail in Genesis 7:16. And they entered, the male and female, it's talking about the animals, of every living thing as God had commanded Noah. Then the Lord shut him in. The Lord shut Noah in. Noah didn't close the door. He didn't have the strength to do that. He didn't have the authority to seal the age. God did, and God did it. And this aligns with our December 21 solstice rapture concept. God called us in the ark of faith. God did that. He alone determines the exact microsecond of the solstice, the twilight when the door seals and the rain begins. Could be that we are seeing the Noah protocol play out in real time on our calendar. The long count, 77 years and 7 months, May 14, 1948 to December 14, 2025, complete. So the month count ends. The week count begins. The final days, December 14 through 21, being like the boarding phase. Where that on December 21, the door shuts. The season changes. And we may currently be in the come thou phase. The building's over. It is time to sit in the ark and wait for the rain. So we may be in the ark without the door shut. Without the door shut. Now, based on the text of Genesis 7, the door is shut at the end of the 7 days, immediately before the judgment begins. Day 1, the entry, the doors open, and the Lord said unto Noah, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain. Genesis 7, verses 1 and 4. December 15, that's today, the doors open. Noah and his family begin the process of boarding, moving from the world into the place of safety. Days 1 through 7 is the wait, the door open. And Noah went into the ark because of the waters of the flood. Genesis 7:7. Note that it's chapter 7, verse 7. Genesis 7:7. 7:7. You want me to say that again? 7:7. This is the boarding phase. You are in the ark, positioned in faith, rapture ready, as many would say. But the rain is not started. It is a time of waiting, silence, reflection. The door is technically still accessible, but the decision to enter has already been made by the righteous saints. Days 7 and 8, the sealing, the door shut. Again, Genesis chapter 7, verses 10, 13, and 16. It came to pass after 7 days, the waters of the flood were upon the earth. In the selfsame day entered Noah, and the Lord shut him in. December 21, solstice, twilight. The 7 days expire. The very moment that the judgment, the rain is about to begin, God seals the door. Right now, we would be in the ark with the door open. You are safe because you're inside. And I don't think that you have any ability whatsoever to go running out of the ark at the last moment. But that's another message. But the transaction isn't sealed until the 7 days are up. And this perfectly matches the solstice concept. The sun is setting for 7 days. We're gathered watching it go down, but the winter doesn't officially lock in until the moment of the solstice, the door shutting. So for this week, the call is not to build anymore, nor is it to panic because the door is about to shut. The call is simply to stay inside. Now, we have a destination. We know this. I love symbolism. I'm looking ahead. 8 souls, 8 saved to repopulate the earth. 8. Why not 5? Why not 12? Why not 8? Okay, 8 souls. That's the master number of the entire architecture. That's the core of the pattern. 7 is the number of judgment and completion, the flood, the week, Daniel's 70th week, the tribulation, the time of Jacob's trouble. Not the time of the church's trouble. 8 is the number of new beginnings and resurrection. We've known that forever. The fact that exactly 8 souls, Noah, Shem, Ham, Japheth, and their wives, were preserved is not a coincidence. It is a prophetic signature. And they were like the bridge between worlds. Those 8 people were the living bridge between the world that perished and the world to come. 7 days of waiting. Closed the door on the old creation. The 8 souls stepped out onto the new earth to restart the human story. It links to Hanukkah, the 8th day, and this brings the timeline full circle. Hanukkah, as you know, is the celebration of the 8 days of light. Just as the 8 souls emerged from the darkness of the ark to light the new world, the 8th candle of Hanukkah represents the light that transcends the natural cycle of the week. Interesting, is it not? But this also has a resurrection connection. Jesus rose on the 8th day, the first day of the new week. I know he rose after 3 days, but he rose on the 8th day, the first day of the new week. And he is the captain of the ark. And we are the 8 souls, those saved by grace, not by works, but by grace, to inherit the kingdom. Like Noah, those upon whom God found favor, grace, that is grace. Grace. Okay? Done a lot of videos on grace. I hope you were blessed by them. But this is a perfect match. The ark, Christ takes the 8, the believers, out away from, that's Revelation 3:10, the winter judgment to inherit the spring or the kingdom. 7 ends the old, 8 begins the new. So, how long after the ark landed, I asked, did it take for the waters to recede and them exit the ark? Well, there is a fascinating detail that most people miss, including me. Until now, we tend to think that the rain stopped, the sun came out, and they walked out of the ark. But the Bible records a massive waiting period between the moment that the ark landed and the moment that they were actually allowed to leave. Okay? Genesis chapter 8, verse 4, the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month upon the mountains of Ararat. Genesis 8:4. Month 7, day 17. The ark is stable. The judgment is technically over. The waters are receding, but the world outside's not yet ready. As far as the exit from the ark, in the 2nd month, on the 7th and 20th day of the month, was the earth dried, and God spake unto Noah, saying, Go forth of the ark. That's Genesis chapter 8, 14 through 16. So the date is month 2, day 27 of the following year. The duration, or the wait, if you count from the 7th month, 17th day, to the 2nd month, 27th day of the next year, it is approximately 7 months and 10 days. That is roughly 220 days. Noah and his family sat inside the ark on solid ground for over 7 months before the door opened. They knew that they were safe. They knew the judgment was over, but they had to wait for the new earth to be fully prepared, dried, cleansed, before they could step onto it. Now, the prophetic implication, dearly beloved, is that this aligns perfectly with the 75-day transition period, Daniel 12, or the gap between the second coming and the official start of the kingdom. The landing, December 21, winter 2032, the king returns. The ark which you could call the kingdom government, touches down on the Mount of Olives, Zechariah 14. The waters of the Antichrist's armies recede. Just because the king has landed doesn't mean that the kingdom is instantly green. There is a period of cleansing the temple, judging the nations, and drying out the pollution of the old world. Only when the earth is dried, only when the earth is restored, does the full 8th day habitation begin. So even after the arrival, there's a pause, a time of preparation before the door swings open to the new reality. December 22, 2025 is Tu Tevet in the year Hebrew year 5786. The second day of the month of Tevet in the year 5786. Now, the significance of that in this timeline, this date is Zot Hanukkah, the 8th day of Hanukkah. It fits the architecture perfectly. December 21, the solstice, the 7th day of the count, completion, judgment. The door shuts, December 22, the day after, the 8th day, new beginning, just as the 8 souls stepped out of the ark to a new world. Tu Tevet is the first full day where the light of the menorah is complete, all 8 candles burned, the dedication is finished, the new kingdom begins. Now, would the day count from a December 21 rapture, followed by returning with Christ at the second advent, would that align with Noah's time in the ark before he exited into a new post-flood world? Well, the shocking answer, dearly beloved, is yes. This is one of the most stunning math connections in the entire Bible. Now, at first glance, the numbers don't look like they match. Noah in the ark for roughly a year, the church in heaven for 7 years, the tribulation. But when you apply the day for a week prophetic scale, the durations align almost to the exact day. Okay, so I'm going to give you the math. Here's the math. I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to bore everybody with a bunch of math, but here's the math of the ark to tribulation ratio. According to Genesis 7 and 8, Noah's stay in the ark was exactly 370 days. The entry, second month, 17th day. That's Genesis 7:11. The exit, second month, 27th day of the next year. That's Genesis 8:14. Now notice the chapter numbers, 7 and 8. Again, these numbers just seem to want to show themselves in these contexts. A biblical prophetic year is 360 days. From 217 to 217 is 360 days. From 217 to 227 is an extra 10 days. So the total duration is 370 days. The prophetic key, I believe, is a day for a week. In Daniel 9, the 7-year tribulation is called a week of years. This gives us a divine ratio. The day in the type, Noah, equals 1 week in the fulfillment, the church. Noah was hidden for 370 days. You multiply by 7 to convert days to weeks. 370 times 7 is 2590 days. 2590. Now look at the full count of the tribulation plus the transition period, Daniel 12, to get to the kingdom. The tribulation, 7 prophetic years, 20 days. Daniel adds extra days for the cleaning, the transition, 1290 in 1335, 1260 days, midpoint to the second coming, but midpoint to the kingdom, 1335 days, midpoint to the kingdom beginning. The difference, the transition, is 75 days. So the total duration, 2520 plus 75 is 2595 days. And Noah's scale time was 2590 days. Tribulation plus kingdom entry, 2595 days. They are virtually identical with a margin of 5 days, which likely accounts for the calendar drift between 360-day prophetic years and 365-day solar years. The timing aligns perfectly. Just as Noah sat in the ark for 370 days until the earth was fully dried and ready for habitation, the bride will remain in the heavenly ark for roughly 2590 days, 7 years plus the transition until the earth is cleansed of the Antichrist's pollution and ready for the millennial kingdom. We are seeing the same blueprint, folks, just scaled up by a factor of 7. Are you following me? Noah saved for a year of days. The church saved for a week of years. Okay? This is the math connecting Noah's ark to the rapture timeline. Noah didn't just stay in the ark for the duration of the rain, 40 days. He stayed until the earth was fully restored. His total time inside was exactly 370 days. Okay? This prophetic scale, this day for a week, using the biblical principle where one day represents 1 week, 7 days, we scale Noah's time up. 370 days times 7 is 2590 days. It's really simple math. The tribulation, this number 2590, aligns almost perfectly with the full timeline of the end times. Okay? 7-year tribulation period, 2520. That's 1260, 2520 days. Daniel's transition, Daniel chapter 12. Blessed is he that waits and comes to the 1335 days. Okay? That 1335 can only exist from the midpoint to the kingdom, beginning. Midpoint plus 1260 to the return plus 75 days to cleanse the temple and the earth. Total 2595 days. Total 2595 days. Noah's 370-day stay in the ark was a miniature prophecy of the church's 2590-day absence, 7 years plus transition. We are hidden for the exact scale duration required for the earth to be judged, cleansed, and dried, ready for the kingdom. Now, are there any other facts surrounding the ark landing narrative, the landing narrative, that align with the church's landing in the new world? Well, yes, there is a staggering detail hidden in the date that the ark landed that directly connects to the resurrection and the church's entry into the new world, and it centers on a date, Nisan 17. Maybe that'll ring a bell with some of you folks. The date of touchdown, Genesis 8:4, records precisely when the ark hit the ground. Okay? The ark rested in the 7th month, okay, on the 17th day of the month upon the mountains of Ararat. Now, to understand why this matters, we have to look at the calendar change God instituted in Exodus 12. Old calendar, Noah's time, the year began in Tishri, the fall. The 7th month was Nisan, spring. Okay, this means that the ark rested on Nisan 17. Why is Nisan 17 famous? Well, because Nisan 14 was the Passover, Jesus crucified. Nisan 17, 3 days later, the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Okay? I hope you're following me. The alignment is that the ark rested, finished its stormy journey. It touched the new world on the exact anniversary of the day Jesus rose from the grave. The ark touches the mountain on Resurrection Day. Are you hearing me? The church, we land in the kingdom, operating in the power of the first resurrection, Revelation 26, 20 verse 6, the landing is literally defined by resurrection life. And then we have the olive branch connection. The olive branch connection. When Noah wanted to check if the new world was habitable, he sent out a dove. And the dove came in to him in the evening, and in her mouth was an olive leaf that it had plucked off. That's Genesis 8:11. Now compare this to the second coming. Here we have Noah's sign, an olive leaf, and what is Jesus' landing site? The Mount of Olives, Zechariah 14:4. Dearly beloved, the symbolism is precise. The dove, Holy Spirit, confirms that the judgment is passed by bringing proof from the olive tree. And when the church returns with Christ, we literally touch down with him on the Mount of Olives, fulfilling the sign of the dove. And then there's the unveiling, the apocalypsis. In Genesis 8:13, before they exit, Noah does something specific. He removes the covering of the ark, and he looks and he beholds, and the face of the ground was dry. Noah had to take the lid off to see the new world. Well, the church, the word revelation is the Greek word apocalypsis, ellipsis. It literally means the removing of the covering or the unveiling. Are you still with me? The landing is the moment that the covering of the hidden realm, heaven, the ark, is removed, and the sons of God are revealed to the broken creation, Romans 8:19. The world finally sees what was inside the ark. And what happened next? What was the first act? What did Noah do? What's the very first thing Noah did when his feet hit the mud of the new earth? He didn't build a house. What did he do? He built an altar. Genesis 8:20. Noah established worship immediately. Immediately. Now we're looking at the kingdom. The millennial temple, Ezekiel 40, chapters 40 through 48, is the center of the new administration. The first act of the landing is restoring pure worship, which cleanses the atmosphere of I hope you're getting this. The curse on the ground reversed. The landing narrative is a perfect script for the kingdom setup. The date, Resurrection Day, Nisan 17. The location, the Mount of Olives, that's the olive leaf. The event being the great unveiling, that is removing the covering. Okay? Restoring the altar, true worship. Dearly beloved, you aren't just waiting for a ship to dock. You are waiting for Resurrection Day to touch Mount Olivet. Listen, and none of that would align. Forget everything I said. None of it would align if we didn't have a start date of December 21. Is that the golden thread that ties the entire timeline together? You tell me. If we did not have the December 21, 2025 start date, dearly beloved, we would miss the most specific signature of Christ in the entire kingdom setup, and that's the 153 fish. Here's the exact math of the landing. The tribulation count, 20 days. The start date, December 21, just days away. The door shuts. The duration, 20 days. 7 prophetic years. The end date being November 14, 2032. November 14, 2032. At this point, the war is over, the beast is defeated, but the kingdom has not yet been unveiled or established. The harvest count, 153 days. In John 21, the disciples, a picture of the remnant, the church, catch 153 great fish. They drag the net to the shore where Jesus is waiting with fire and bread. Look at that as the kingdom meal. The start, November 14, 2032, end of the tribulation, the duration, 153 days. The end date being April 16, 2033. The landing date, well, what is April 16, 2033 on the Hebrew calendar? It is Nisan 17, the exact anniversary of the ark resting on Ararat, Genesis 8:4. The resurrection of Jesus Christ. The impossible alignment that we have successfully connected is the solstice, December 21, the tribulation, 20 days, the harvest, 153 days, the resurrection, Nisan 17, and without listen, please, without the December 21 start date, the math simply does not add up to 153 plus Nisan 17. So what is the picture here? The church is shut in on the solstice. We pass through the 20 days of wrath. Then there's a 153-day period of gathering the net. I'm going to call it judging the nations, the sheep and the goats. And finally on Nisan 17, the ark rests, the net hits the shore, and the kingdom of resurrection officially touches the earth. It is absolute perfection. I don't know what else to say. I don't know how many more videos I'm going to do. So let me just end by saying I love you all. I truly do. Rest in Him. Rest in Him. Until next time, thanks for listening.